Regardless of anyone's thoughts or opinions, there is no denying that the current tariffs on imports to the U.S. are causing significant challenges to the U.S. model railroad industry. We're already beginning to see delays in announcements and shipments, and in a worst case scenario, we could see multiple model railroad companies go out of business. Over the past few weeks, I have corresponded with several model railroad manufacturers to better understand the impacts of these tariffs on their businesses, and I'm bringing what I found to you.
One other really good thing that I found after recording this was an interview with Walther's CEO, Stacy Walters, by David Popp at trains.com. I'm going to link that below. It's a really interesting watch and gives you a lot of insight into what is going on with the companies right now.
Before we begin, I want to preface all of this by saying I will do my best to keep politics out of this video, including keeping my own personal opinions to myself. This is a model railroad channel, and if you want politics, there are thousands of political YouTube channels out there to watch. The tariff situation is also very fluid at the moment, so this video will try to address multiple scenarios. Also, keep in mind that I have strict auto moderation settings on my comments, so if your comment does not pop up after you've sent it, it may just be held until I can review it. And no attacking of other comments or hateful speech of any kind will be tolerated in the comment section. Okay, let's get into it. Tariffs are a tax billed to an importer on imported goods. When a shipment arrives in the U.S. at a port of entry, a tariff may be levied against it. This is usually for the value that the importer paid for the item. Most model railroad items are manufactured in China, where the highest tariffs have gone recently are 145%. This means that a U.S. model railroad company that creates its products in a Chinese factory would be charged 145% the value of the object as a tax upon entry to the U.S. So, what does this mean for us model railroaders? Well, it means two things. The first is more expensive models. Let's take a look at some various scenarios. Let's say you have a locomotive that costs the company $300 from the factory. Think big boys and other freshly tooled steam engines, things like that. This would typically be a $500 locomotive at retail. If that locomotive has a 145% tariff imposed on it, that would be a $435 tax added on. So that locomotive would now cost the manufacturer $735. When you have to add in shipping, research and development, along with marketing costs that need to be recouped, plus paying employees, the company I asked in this scenario said it would bring the cost of the locomotive to around $1,000. This makes accepting the shipment too cost prohibitive. Therefore, they will not ship it from their factory. Pretty much every model railroad company is a small business as defined by employing under 500 people. Most are under 50 people. Model railroading is also a business of tight margins. They simply do not have the cash available to pay these tariffs. This is the second effect of tariffs on us model railroaders. Fewer models being delivered because of those high tariffs. Now, let's look at a few different tariff scenarios. At 20%, a $300 locomotive would be charged $60 in tariffs. Then you add in the cost of research and development and marketing and business expenses, and you get around $550, where that original price was $500. I also asked the companies about negotiating price with factories, and most companies said they negotiate with the factory to split the added cost of tariffs. So you may not see a price increase of 20% with a 20% tariff, but you're going to see something more likely in the range of 5 to 7%. 30 to 50% tariffs is where it becomes extremely hard not to raise the retail price. This would be a tariff between $90 and $150 on that $300 engine. Now, let's say the company splits the tariff 50-50 with the factory. That's $45 to $75 in additional cost of the engine, or a 15 to 25% increase in cost to the company if their factory is splitting the cost, which is not guaranteed. This may not sound like much, but let's say a company ships 1,000 of those locomotives and they have to pay an extra 25%. That's an extra $75,000 in cost, bringing the total of that locomotive to market to $375,000. That is getting to the point where it's pretty hard to absorb the cost. 30% tariffs and above, you will likely see universal price increases. It will not be a 30% increase. If the locomotive is $300 to the company and it retails for $500, a $90 tariff is about 18% of the retail cost. And if they split the cost with the factory, then it could be as low as 9%, which would make the locomotive around $545. Frankly, it's really unclear what exactly companies will do to offset the costs. The two main things I have been told are increase the price and ship fewer models. Now, the people that run these companies are smart and have likely been planning on what to do for a while. This doesn't change the fact that higher costs affect businesses, and this may lead to fewer models and higher retail prices. Now, if you are like me, you would ideally want model railroad items to be manufactured in your home country, whether that's here in the US, Canada, the UK. I'm actually kind of jealous of Japan and Germany, who have companies like Kato and Markland. But there are companies that manufacture model railroad products right here in the States. This is a rare situation where N-scalers may actually have it slightly better than HO-scalers. Microtrains, one of the biggest suppliers of affordable N-scale rolling stock, has their factory right here in Talent, Oregon. TSG Multimedia did a great tour of their factory, and I'm going to link that right up here. And there are also some other manufacturers located here in the US. KD, for you HO scalers, is located in the US. Bowser, which is the only one that I could find that actually makes locomotives domestically. Accurail, Tichy Train Group, Micro Engineering, all have US manufacturing. Soundtracks produces their decoders in Colorado. Woodland Scenics makes a lot of their products domestically. Lionel also does some rolling stock assembly and detailing at their headquarters in North Carolina. Now, everything else isn't just made in China. And some companies, most notably Lionel, have manufacturing in Vietnam. Kato is in Japan, Markland is in Germany with some manufacturing in Hungary, but most model railroad companies' manufacturing is located around Shenzhen and Dongguan in the Guangdong province of southern China. While you could theoretically bring a portion of model railroad manufacturing back to the US, you're going to run into quite a few hurdles doing this. The first is cost. It would cost tens of millions of dollars to replicate the manufacturing infrastructure for model railroads here. The second is supplies. The US simply does not have the supply chains in place to cost effectively manufacture model trains the way it is done overseas. And even if we did, we do not have the skilled workforce to do the precision manufacturing needed for modern model trains. And even if all of that was in place, it would still take years to get manufacturing up and running, which is time the companies do not have with the tariffs already being in effect. If you haven't already watched the Scale Trains factory tour, I'm going to link it above. It is an eye-opening video, and as one commenter put it, I thought trains were too expensive. Now I think they're an amazing value. Now, the average person has way bigger issues in their life than their hobbies. But to people that work at these companies, this is what puts food on the table for them. There are no fat cats sitting on piles of money in model railroading. Most of them built these companies out of a love for model trains. So what can we do to support them? The overwhelming response to this was pre-order. Pre-ordering tells companies what people want and it lets them keep manufacturing so that they can have shipments ready to go when the tariff situation becomes more advantageous. The second thing you can do is write your representatives in Congress. YouTuber James Wright, many of you know, crafted a fantastic form letter on his Facebook page. I will link it below. You can use this to craft your own letter to your congressional representatives. And if you have model railroad companies in your state like I do, be sure to add them in. The bottom line is we do not know what the future will hold. By the time you watch this, the entire situation could be different. The only things I can say now is that let's help model railroad companies that have brought so much joy in our lives. And the only constant in life is change. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Jimmy from the DIY and Digital. Stay safe, be kind, and happy railroading.